It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
Shall we podcast? I think we shall. Sean Widmer Podcast, thank you for listening. I'm Sean Widmer, and I appreciate you taking time to either listen to this in podcast form or watch it on YouTube. Thank you. For those of you who have been sharing the good news of the program and causing some new people to find the podcast, means a lot. Thank you very much for that. Today on the podcast, the hardest part of parenting so far in my 4 years as a dad. Talk a little basketball because it is, after all, the day before the NCAA tournament really starts. I know, Colorado State already knocked off Virginia. Thank goodness we don't have to watch Virginia basketball in the tournament. And Wagner won. So I know there's some games that are happening, but I kind of wait. I'm a purist. I want it to be Thursday for me is when the NCAA tournament starts with the actual round of 64. I'm so excited. We'll get into basketball here in a second. And then the state of, I don't want to say the state of video games because I think that will lead you to think of a different kind of video game than we're going to talk about. This one's going to be something I believe is more, it's unfortunate it's more relatable, but it is more relatable to everyone. We'll dive into that and finish the show off with some Kelly's What Are You Into in the cooking world, because this is, after all, your favorite 15-minute cooking podcast on the internet. We'll get into that and finish off with the comments today. Thank you again for everyone who's interacted. I had it happen on Tuesday this week. The hardest parenting moment of my life so far. I've got a 4-year-old, I've got a 2-year-old, and this came from the 4-year-old. Now, my 4-year-old is going through it right now. She is wild. Olivia, I love her to death, and I sing her praises a lot, and I feel like I was rougher on my son, and people felt that I had favoritism going. So, Olivia, now you're going to have to take a little bit of one right here. My daughter has a couple things that, as much as she's my angel, drive me insane. One, I don't know what happens to her when we're trying to put, I mentioned my son trying to get pants on him. Putting pants on my daughter is equally as hard. I mean, all day this girl runs around, acts like she's an Olympian, will balance beam along the back of the couch even though she's not supposed to, jump off, do a twirl. She's extremely mobile and pretty doggone good with her coordination until you try to get her to stand up and put pants on. And you hold the pant legs out, and suddenly she goes limp. She's forgot how to stand. She's leaning against you, against the couch, against the wall. It is like pulling teeth to get her to step into her pant legs. Again, after I just saw her do full speed on her scooter and then jump and do a foot switch halfway down the hill. But no, when it comes to the pants, that's another story. And she's always 2 hours late with everything in her life right now. She'll wake up. We're getting ready to do breakfast. We'll make breakfast. Huck will house his. Olivia will nibble a little bit and then be done. And then 2 hours later, she's like, where's breakfast? I'm like, sister, you missed it. Get to lunch. Same thing. Sandwiches in front of her. Just take a bite. 2 hours later, she is ready for it. Same with our rest time during the day. She doesn't take a nap anymore. But when Huck goes down, we kind of slow the house down for a little bit, and everyone wants to rest. And Olivia just wants to go buck nutty during that time. And then 2 hours later, right around 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, all of a sudden, sister is exhausted, tired, has missed nap time. Now she's trying to sleep into dinner. She's wild. She's wild. And she broke my heart today. The hardest part of parenting for me so far came at the hands of my daughter, as today was sort of a spirit day at her kindergarten. And my girl, the Tuesday of March Madness, walked out of my house saying, "Go Cats," wearing a Kentucky Wildcats cheerleading outfit, sticking a dagger directly into my heart. We've had a hard time with Huck being fussy and crying a lot, had some issues sleeping. Olivia with her listening skills being very bad, and just leads to a lot of rough moments. Her being a very rebellious when we ask her to do stuff, going the opposite way, which have led to some discussions with her. There's a lot of things that are difficult about parenting. Nothing hurt worse, though. Nothing drove me more crazy. Nothing made me more sad than during NCAA tournament week, when we will be pulling for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And by we, apparently, I just mean me. Seeing my daughter look me dead in the eyes in a Kentucky Wildcats cheerleading outfit and go, "Dad, go Cats." I said, "Sweetheart, what about Gonzaga?" She goes, "I hate them." Worst moment in parenting so far. Not even close. And I feel like I might have dropped the ball on this. And so now I'm frantic and I'm a little panicked because I'm kind of outnumbered here in Lexington. There has been multiple families of kids raised in this family, and they've got hand-me-down clothes coming in left and right. So there's a good buildup of Kentucky Wildcats gear inside of our family that is being passed down to us. And I realize now it is my job as dad to make sure that what just happened with my daughter does not happen with my sons. And that Huck and Woods are fully filled with drawers of Gonzaga Bulldogs gear, Eastern Washington gear. Because I can't have this again. I'm so excited for this week. I'm pumped. Zags McNeese State. Thursday can't get here fast enough. Let's get the ball rolling on another tournament run. And my sweet daughter rolls out in Kentucky gear. Now, I've got nothing against Kentucky at all. I'll probably be cheering for them. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the facts are the facts. I'm a Gonzaga guy, first and foremost, and the Zags need to be represented by my family. It was brutal. It was a brutal moment. She walked out, got in the car, and I just sat there on my couch, contemplating all the wrong decisions I've ever made in life. And wondering how that happened. I understand that it's UK Day at her kindergarten, but that's the moment when we make a stand as the Widmer House and roll in with a different team on and say, yeah, we will respect UK Day, but not that much. Man, I felt bad. Not as bad as John Collins felt earlier this week. And I wanted to discuss this real quick as we are now in the midst of March Madness. It's here. I'm excited about it. And I thought Anthony Edwards this week, a Minnesota Timberwolf. Obviously, that is not a college basketball team. He will not be playing in the NCAA tournament. But I love the little flex by the NBA that right before the NCAA tournament gets going and everyone's fired up for the tournament, everyone's fired up to watch college basketball, the NBA guys remind you, remember how good we are. Remember this weekend when you watch a bunch of guys who are good at basketball. They're better than pretty much anyone who's listening to this podcast. There's maybe a few people listening to this podcast who have played at a level that the guys are going to play at this weekend in the NCAA tournament. There's not a lot of people like that. But they're not as good as the NBA guys. And it's not even close. And Anthony Edwards throwing down one of the nastiest dunks I've ever seen in game on top of John Collins was that weird flex leading into the tournament that goes, you're not going to see this kind of stuff Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're going to see a lot of missed jumpers. You're going to see a lot of weird, bad turnovers. You're going to justify all of these things because the moment of college basketball and the chaos of all the games is truly special. It's a spectacular event. It's so fun to be a part of. But I will always have part of my brains remembering I am watching a form of basketball that is not as good as the pros. And yes, I already hear and see the comments. They don't play defense in the NBA. You can't defend the NBA, guys, for crying out loud. Stop with it. You can't. Stop with it. There's no defense in the NBA. Stop. You know why the Anthony Edwards dunk is truly going viral? Because of defense. Because if John Collins doesn't stick his nose in to try to play defense, Anthony Edwards just dunks it. And it's another great Anthony Edwards dunk. But the reason the dunk is popular is because of defense in the NBA. And John Collins didn't back down and went in for the challenge, stuck his nose in, and got absolutely yacked on. But props to him for getting in there and trying to play defense. I'm tired of it. It's again, the no defense in the NBA is people who don't watch a lot of it. People who go on Twitter and find one guy who has said that there's not defense in the NBA. John Wall coming out, what's my favorite? John Wall wishes he was in the NBA, coming out and saying they don't play defense. I can't watch it. They don't play defense. John Wall, you're not even in the league. You're not even in the league. I'm not going to listen to a bitter guy talk about the negatives of the league you wish you were in. That's not going to be accurate takes. Those are going to be extremely skewed opinions by John Wall. And I loved John Wall. I am excited for the tournament, though. I am excited. I just thought it was fun the NBA reared its head up and flexed a little bit to remind us where the dudes are. I did have some people ask me, and it wasn't in one of the comments. I think it was on Instagram or on TikTok, one of the two. Someone asked me who I have in my Final Four for the championship, for the NCAA tournament. And so I did want to share that real quick because I do like that question, and so I thought I'd get the answer out there. I've got UConn versus North Carolina on one side, Kentucky versus Purdue on the other. I've got UConn and Purdue in the championship, with UConn winning their back-to-back title. They're just dudes. They're so good. They're so good. And I think they're well coached with great players. I know they've got some tough teams in their bracket. Iowa State is really tough. Auburn is really tough. But UConn is so stinking good. And they're the Kings until someone says otherwise. And so I'm rolling with UConn in terms of my prediction. I've got Gonzaga going to the Sweet 16. I think that is a very reasonable prediction. I think that is where they should be, looking at how their bracket goes, knowing that Kansas is missing their leading scorer for the tournament. He will not be playing. It looks like Hunter Dickinson will be playing, but you work around that. I've got Washington State for you Kook fans. I've got them losing their second game to Iowa State. Iowa State's just really, really, really good. Arizona, they're a team I'm really cheering for. I would love to see Arizona in the Final Four. I'd love to see them win a title. I have them losing to Carolina in the Elite Eight. I'm excited for the tournament, though. I think there's going to be a lot of fun games on Thursday, obviously Friday as well. But it's time. It's time to get the ball and roll it out there. Okay, enough sports. Thank you for sifting through that stuff with me. I saw a story today that I thought was very interesting. I saw this on Kotaku. And the headline reads, Monopoly Go spent almost $500 million on marketing, more than Spider-Man 2's dev budget. Okay, so the world of phone games always baffles me, always blows my mind. And I'm a video game fan. In fact, we are going to, let's read it now. We normally read the comments at the end of the podcast, but I'm going to read Ian's right now. He said, "What are you playing? I just beat Death Stranding. Ending was so good. Sifu next on my list. And then 100% Death Stranding, and then hopefully Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Meantime, I'm spreading democracy." That means Helldivers 2. I need a job mainly so I can get Helldivers 2 and Final Fantasy Rebirth. I've been jonesing to try those games out. I just don't have the coins to get Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Helldivers 2, but they both look ratty, and I have been playing Baldur's Gate 3. Jeremy and I are playing a campaign together, and we are a decent way into the story. And so I've created a single character in that game, and I'm playing through all the stuff that Jeremy and I did, but I'm kind of expanding and doing a little more than we did. That game is a spectacular game, and it blows my mind every time I play it, stuff that's in it. So yeah, I've been playing through a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3, and I've actually had a couple Fortnite runs with the boys. Been fun to catch up. Got to play with Casey the other day. Got to catch up with Casey. I think Marcus jumped on for a couple rounds, so I got to talk to him for a little bit. Fun to catch up with the boys and play Fortnite. But I love the question, Ian. So I digress to the fact that I love video games. I love them so very much. And I'm always cheering for positivity in the video game world. I'm cheering for positive stories and hope that the future of gaming is going to be great. And every time mobile stories come out, it makes me worried. But we all play mobile games, right? We all play mobile games. There's a game on your phone right now you're probably really into, and you're excited for me to be done talking so you can get back to it. Or maybe you're playing it right now while listening to the podcast. Well, Monopoly Go is setting all these records. This story comes out today that they spent almost $500 million on marketing. And I got to say, I saw some of it. In fact, I had downloaded Monopoly Go. I forgot I had, but I had downloaded it because it was part of a Mr. Beast campaign where he had one of those things that was like, everyone who watches this gets $1,000. And I thought, I'll take $1,000 so I can buy Helldivers 2 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And then it led to all these things, and one of them was, beat Monopoly Go, and so I had downloaded it, and I stopped, whatever. But this mobile game has over 100 million downloads. So the odds that someone listening right now is playing Monopoly Go are extremely high. And I have no problem with this. This is not going to be me shaming phone games in any way, because I have been very addicted to phone games throughout my life, just like everyone else has. I can get down with a phone game. I just find this interesting, and as a video game fan, I find it a bit concerning because a game like Monopoly Go, which is not, in terms of building Monopoly Go, there's this article by Kotaku was one, and then I saw another article discussing building a mobile game and how difficult it is, and how that landscape is not just auto making money, because there's so many mobile games being built that it's hard to be the one that catches. Now, if you catch, you've got a big chance to make big bucks. But let me read this from Kotaku. Monopoly Go, a mobile game released last year inspired by the famous classic board game, Monopoly. But it says it's very likely that someone you know is playing it. Maybe a parent, an uncle, a sister. The game has massive popularity with over 10 million daily players. Woo! 10 million daily players. According to a recent report from Scopely, I don't know what Scopely is, but according to their report, it made $1 billion in 3 months. $1 billion in 3 months. And then it goes on to talk about, the fact that they did spend $500 million on marketing. And I just found this very interesting, because we're in a landscape right now where video game companies are firing a lot of people. There's been a lot of turnover in the video game industry lately. And it's a scary thing because a lot of the big games that come out aren't making tons and tons and tons of money. But those are the games we all want. As video game players, we really want the God of War Ragnaroks. We want the Harry Potter games. We want the Baldur's Gate 3s. We want the Last of Us games. We want these big games. We're going to get our Grand Theft Auto 6 hopefully next year. But if I look at this kind of stuff, and I'm a video game company, I'm somebody who's developing games, it's really hard for me not to notice the risk reward of making a AAA big game. There was a game that just came out called Suicide Squad that failed miserably. It failed, drastically. And I do not know what their budget to build that game was, but it was a lot, and they took a big hit on it. Monopoly Go, the actual development for the game, I'm assuming didn't take that much, because this is not a gigantic, crazy, push the envelope graphically kind of game. It's Monopoly Go. In fact, I downloaded it, tried to figure out what the heck I was doing, played it for 20 minutes, still have no clue what was happening. You just kind of click a dice rolling button, and you roll dice until you're out of dice. And then it goes into classic phone game mode where, you'll get 3 dice in 57 minutes. And you sit there and wait, and then it rebuilds, and then you roll dice again, and you're going around a Monopoly board. And I didn't quite understand it, but it is extremely popular. Just because I didn't understand it doesn't mean it's not fun. But again, this game didn't cost a lot to make. They spent $500 million on advertising. Now, to put that into perspective, for you gamers out there, The Last of Us Part 2 cost $220 million to develop. They spent more on marketing the game than Last of Us 2 spent on developing. Spider-Man 2, $300 million to develop and market. Okay? Cyberpunk 2077 and its DLC, including marketing, $440 million. That game was everywhere when it came out. They were marketing it every single place in the world. That they spent less money to build a huge game and market it than Monopoly Go did to market. But this worked. They put $500 million in, and apparently in 3 months they made $1 billion. So why do I bring this up? Because I'm nervous about the state of video games. If I see stuff like this and I see where you spend your money, I, as a video game guy, want the envelope to continue to be pushed in the video games world. But I could see that slowing down a little bit, because the end result or end goal for these companies is to make money. And if Monopoly Go on your phone is making you money, it's making them money, that's where we're going to be. So that's just the state of where we're at. I need to wash this taste out of my mouth. So I'm going to give you 5 games that I like on phones that are not Monopoly Go, because I did not enjoy Monopoly Go. But I do support phone games. They make me worried for the games I like, but I do support them. Here's 5 of them that I dig. Because when you download Monopoly Go now and try it, you're going to be like, why is this making so much money? Heads Up. Heads Up is a fantastic game. I love it because it incorporates the outside of the phone world into your games. It is the Ellen DeGeneres game where you hold the phone to your forehead, a word comes up on it, and the other person you're playing with reads it. They try to get you to guess the word by giving clues as to what the word is, and you get a minute to try to get as many as you can It's a great game. Doodle Jump. I bring up Doodle Jump because it's the very first game I ever had on an Apple handheld, or Apple phone style product. I had it on my iPod Video. Is that what it was? iPod Video? I had it on that, and I loved Doodle Jump. The game I'm no longer allowed to have on my phone. I've had 2 runs with it. One when I had my iPod Video, and another when I got my very first iPhone. And finally, after I got my very first iPhone, I had to delete the game because it was truly sucking up all my time. I was doing it instead of sleeping. I would do it at work. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop playing Bejeweled 2. Bejeweled or Bejeweled 2. I'm someone who cannot have Match 3 games on my phone. So if there's a great Match 3 game, I always want to try them, but I know what they do to me. And then 2 that I'm playing right now that I love. This one actually came as a recommendation on the podcast from, I think it was Bill. Golf Impact. I'm way in on Golf Impact, and I'm in on the game Marcus, Mike, and I play all the time, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which is the most phone-style game of any game I play, where you have to wait for resources to reset, spend resources, wait for them to reset, spend resources, wait for them to reset, and that's the most phony game that I play. I'd ask you guys, what's the game? What's the game right now? What's the hotness? I did say, Ryan told me about Coffee Golf, which I passed on the podcast. I still do that from time to time, just not nearly as much. It didn't hook me like I thought I was going to. What are you playing right now? Can we do something?
Kelly's, what are you into?
Let's head to the kitchen where my wife is cooking it up for the family. My wife and I both really love being in the kitchen. I think after a day of whether it's work or being with the kids or whatever it might be that is stressful, both of us find weird stress relief in the kitchen. I love cooking. My wife really loves cooking. We like it for different reasons. I like it because I like to try to get creative and try stuff and see what happens. My wife loves finding a good recipe, following the instructions to a T, and having a great product come out. It's very similar to me with Legos, where I love the process of getting the Lego box, following piece by piece what the instructions tell you to do, never skipping ahead, and then at the end, seeing what the finished product was and feeling this great sense of joy. My wife is like that with dinner, and she has been on a terror lately. A terror. Now, she's going to be out of town the rest of the week, so the next couple nights, it'll be experiment nights at the Widmer house. I'll make the kids dinner, sit down with them, we'll all eat together, and I'll, snack on whatever. And then when they go to bed, we dive into the bear experiment in the kitchen. But I wanted to give a shout out to this. My wife made a recipe from delish.com. If you Google search Delish, and then you Google search slow cooker beef broccoli recipe, my wife dove into that world of sort of an Asian flavored dish. It was so good. I'm thinking about it right now. It's 12 o'clock in the morning. It's 12:10 a.m. And I'm like, should I go up and mix up some rice and dump some of the sauce from this beef broccoli, a couple pieces of broccoli and this shredded beef, or not shredded, this crock-potted, slow-cooked, shreddable beef, and just get after it in the middle of the night? I shouldn't, but I want to. It's so good. So if you wanted to have a meal that feels like you're at Panda Express, my favorite fast food restaurant, this is the one. Google search slow cooker beef broccoli delish. It'll come up. You can thank me later. It's so easy and freaking good. Let's get into the comments, shall we? I know we already read one from Ian. We always do the comments at the end of the episode. You can comment over on Sean'sLife.com. That is my website, and there's a big comment box right there on the front page. It can be questions, concerns, shout-outs, whatever. I don't care what it is. We read them. You can also do this on Spotify. They have a question and answer section at the bottom of the episode you're listening to right now, so you can go there and do that. Or if you watch on YouTube, you can go comment on the YouTube video for today's episode, and we will read those ones as well. We're going to start on Spotify, where Yvonne says this: my brother played marbles with his friends in the 70s, kind of like Peanuts. Shoot out the ring. Andrew's doing great. This is her son. Andrew's doing great. He's got 2 belts now. I am getting better. I love it. Yvonne, I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad Andrew's doing well in that wrestling world. I love to hear that. And again, marbles is an old person thing, but I love them and wish they would make a stinking comeback because they're so fun. So fun. Even when we were playing marbles in Venezuela in the 90s, I could tell this was a game that would have been old in the States. It felt like we needed to be in those coveralls that all the kids off Newsies wear and their little weird hats that I don't even know what they're called. But it felt like kids like that played marbles. Let's head over to the YouTube, where I believe we have 3 comments today on the YouTube. Here they are. This one from Roberti. Roberti? Hey, Roberta. Mark and I watched both selection shows. Mark was her husband. Mark and I watched both selection shows. Turned off the guys' show at the pronouncement of Gonzaga losing to McNeese State. No need for that. And that last comment. Gotta love autocorrect. Yeah, sorry, Roberta. I butchered your comment last time. But yeah, Gonzaga, when Seth Davis and Clark Kellogg started waxing eloquently about how McNeese is going to knock off Gonzaga, I laugh. It got worse as this week's gone on. My favorite one was, if McNeese State hits a bunch of 3-pointers against Gonzaga, they're going to win. Okay, thank you. Top tier analysis there. I understand they're a 3-point shooting team. I understand that. But it's also 2024. Most teams rely on the 3. Steph Curry has kind of made that the most regular part of basketball. And so it is funny to me when someone says that, because that's every game, right? That's every single game. Tomorrow there's going to be most games where if Duquesne hits a bunch of threes against BYU, they're going to win. If James Madison gets red hot from 3 and never misses a 3, they're going to beat Wisconsin. Whoever shoots threes great is going to win. So thank you for the heavy analysis, ESPN Talking Heads. Deborah says this. Hello from Deer Park, city just north of Spokane. Found your podcast a month ago and love listening. Used to listen to you. Used to listen when you were on Coyote Country 99.9. Deborah, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I hope you find it enjoyable. We normally don't go so heavy on sports on this podcast, but it's the day before March Madness, so today I feel like it was very heavy on sports. Sports and video games, my 2 favorite things. That's not normally how the podcast goes, but today it was. Russ said this, do you have a bracket group we can join with you? I don't. I didn't do a public bracket group this year. Should I have? We could throw one together. If someone hits me up, if enough people hit me up on the comments, probably on YouTube, because I'll see them. If you're watching on YouTube and we get enough people to hit me up in the comments, maybe we'll throw together a quick bracket on ESPN or Yahoo. Yahoo! I've got to sing that because I want to call it Yahoo, and it's Yahoo. Not Yahoo. Yahoo! Anyways, I can throw up a bracket challenge on one of those. That would be kind of fun. That's it for today's podcast. I hope it was enjoyable. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you are someone who watches on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you. God bless. Go Zags.